on, big ballers? It's your boy MJG coming in live with your boy Joe the Birdman. Brand new episode of Fantasy Football Sports Minds. How's everyone doing today? Birdman?
I'm doing great, Manny. How are you doing?
I'm doing phenomenal, brother. I'm just coming at you another great week of fantasy calls last week. I know I got my absolute ass whipped in one league, but I'm doing great in other ones. How about yourself, man?
I had a great week, generally speaking. I lost a couple, but I got some much needed wins in other leagues. So there's one league where I think I need if I lose one more, I'm out. Maybe two, but I don't have a bad team, and it's kind of frustrating because sometimes it's just the matchups that week don't go your way. I've got a handful of leagues where most points against, and I need some better matchups, some easier competition. I just don't know if I'm going to get it soon enough.
All right, yes, sir. I hear that. Definitely something that could happen. But I know one thing that we can say for sure is that we made some pretty good calls last week for some
Goddamn right
matchups. A
we
lot
did.
of really great content to go over today. Any new updates for fantasy football? Do we have any really important players coming back this week?
I don't know about very important players, but we do have Jameson Williams back. And the Lions offense has looked pretty rock solid. So I think that, he could be in the next coming weeks someone to keep your eye on. I grabbed him in one league just to put him on my bench, see what happens over the next couple weeks. Probably won't be, a monumental ad at any point during the season, but he could be someone you need on a bye week.
Yeah, definitely maybe a flex or something like that on a bye,
Yeah.
like you said, a bye week. Definitely a couple players to look out for. Cooper Kupp has been activated for practice. So he's someone that could definitely step in for a flex if you're on an emergency. Also, Jonathan Taylor has been activated on the practice 21-day practice window for PUP. So there's a possibility he could be playing. Cooper Kupp is going against the Eagles. So if he's active, Eagles are depleted. He could definitely immediately be a must start if he were to play, even if he were to get limited snaps, which I don't know how big his injury was, but he
That's
was
what's
wasn't his a hamstring
Yeah, and
soft
that's what's
tissue?
weird. They're giving mixed signals because they say he's ready to come back. But then he's still limited all week in practice. And I assume when he does come back, he won't be 100%. I'm not worried about, him impeding on Puka Nakua really for the rest of the season. I think Puka's going to get enough targets to be a starter the rest of the season. But I am a little worried about Kupp. Like, what's really going on? Is he injured or is he okay? Because it sounds to me like with all this wishy-washy talk about his injury that he might still have a few weeks to go. That's just, I don't know. Just the way they're like skirting around just, yep, he's going to be 100% on Sunday is weird to me.
Yeah, and that could also mean, get ready to hit the jettison button on Tutu Atwell, or find that Cooper Kupp owner and make a trade offer. Hey, you might need, if especially if they're in need of a must start now, you could,
Yeah.
send them that appeal of 1 or 2 weeks. Hey, I know he's only good for 1 or 2 weeks, but hey, you got a guy I want. Let's go ahead and just swap him out here. Maybe see if we
Yeah.
can make something happen.
And Jonathan Taylor's another one where, what's going on with him? I don't think anybody knows. Maybe the Colts don't even know what they're going to do with him. It could be that the relationship is still, sour, and out of spite, he's just on the bench for a couple weeks, even if he's ready to go. But I don't know. Well, I mean, I doubt they would do that, but who knows? If he's ready to go, obviously you put him in, but I think that's one that you gotta, unless you need to play him this week, you gotta watch and see what happens over the next week or two.
Yeah, it was
Zach Moss
definitely
has
a
been playing
pissing
well.
contest. Yeah, you're right. It was a pissing contest between him and Vic Ballard, who is not only the GM for the Colts but also the owner. So when you get into pissing contest with Vic Ballard, aka Jerry Jones, aka your Robert Kraft,
Yeah,
sorry,
right.
not Robert Kraft, but just your GM/owners. Those are guys that take it very personal because not only you negotiating with the GM, you're negotiating with the guy you're literally taking money out of his pocket. So he takes it very personal. So you're right. If he is active for game days, he's someone that's just going to be sat on the bench because you're right. Zach Moss has been positive. So, do you
Yeah.
start Zach Moss? Do you start Jonathan Taylor? Do you take that risk, or do you
Yeah.
just
And I would take the
move
risk
on?
with Zach Moss at this point over Jonathan Taylor because last week was a tough week, all around. It was a tough week. But the previous 2 weeks, he was great. He's getting the volume. So I expect that volume to continue until they have a reason not to give him the ball and start involving Jonathan Taylor. But we'll see. We really don't know. It'll be exciting. It's a strange year. It's going to get a little stranger as we, monitor these injuries and these suspensions and trades and everything else. I bet there's a lot of action in the next couple of weeks off the field. I mean,
Yeah, definitely, definitely a lot of turnover there. As far as injuries, a lot of bye weeks. First bye week, if you have the Chargers, you're without top five players like Keenan Allen. Eckler hasn't played in a while, so you've probably been without him for a while. So you got to figure those out over there.
Kenneth
And of
Walker
course,
for
if you
Seattle.
Kenneth Walker, that's right. Seattle's a big one. Kenneth Walker has been a fantasy stud lately. If you had him last year, you know what he's capable of, and he's just taken off where he left off. The fact that he even dropped off in the drafts is just absolutely amazing to me.
I know.
Was the best kept fantasy secret. And I'm sad that I didn't get him in more drafts.
Yeah, I only
But
got him in
moving
one
on to the
league,
topic
but
over
I
here.
wish I had him more.
Yeah. So, what are your hot matchups, Joe? Leading into the week over here, your first hot matchup.
For my first matchup, my hot matchup of the week, I got the Jags versus the Bills. We know what the Bills can do on offense, and I think if the Jags are playing from behind, we're going to see what they can do on offense too, because Trevor Lawrence has proven himself. Christian Kirk has proven himself. They got Ridley now, Evan Ingram, and Travis Etienne, high-powered offense against another high-powered offense with, Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, and Gabe Davis has shown some flashes of greatness. And then, the running game for both has been a little iffy, but they're going to be passing the ball a lot more. So I feel like it's going to be a high-scoring game. It's going to be a lot of throwing. And, if Trevor Lawrence can't get it done in the air, he'll run. If Josh Allen can't get it done in the air, he'll run. But both of them will get it done in the air. And if the Jags are playing from behind, which they probably will be, expected to be a high-scoring game, maybe some garbage time. Who cares? It's going to be points on the board.
Yeah, definitely. If the Bills are carrying over from their success from last week, Josh Allen threw. I think he had like 4 touchdowns last week, so he really went off. I mean, he was just like just absolutely insane. So if they could, and then 4 of those touchdowns went to Stephon Diggs, or 3 touchdowns to Diggs, and he had a rushing touchdown for Josh Allen. So he had an amazing fantasy day. So you could expect some big explosive plays. It's a 9:30 game, I think, in London. So it's going to be early. It's going to be offbeat. You're going to see some breakdown in coverages. Jags don't really play great defense. So you're going to see some really explosive plays on the Bills side. And hopefully the Jags, they're used to playing in London. They have a little bit of a following. So maybe Trevor Lawrence gets it together because he's been a little bit off. I mean, he hasn't had some big games. And I've had him in one league. I could use a big game from him. I mean, I'm struggling in that league. I'm 2-2, so I mean, I still have a chance. But a nice big game would be nice, and seeing him really get it out there, like ETN could use a big game, maybe a passing game to the flats. Like the Bills can be exposed on the flats a little bit. They just lost Tre'Davious White for the season, the cornerback. Again, tore an Achilles again. Poor guy, like their star, cornerback. So, I mean, so the Bills are going to really be exposed on that perimeter, when it comes to like those vertical attacks. So expect the Jags and Doug Peterson to really scheme that up. Doug Peterson's a great offensive mind, and Trevor Lawrence really loves getting the ball out to that back. So I can see them really. Otherwise, the Bills have a really sound defense deep. And a really strong defense in the middle, like their front seven, like Matt Milano, Their linebackers great.
Oh
Like
yeah.
they really they lost Tremaine Evans, but Terrell Evans, but they're still great in the middle with Matt Milano. So the Bills, you have to attack them a certain way, and I think they trust their abilities to make plays over there. So especially in the red zone. So um, that's how I expect that game to go. So if it goes that way, perfect. It's a great fantasy game for everybody, right? But
Right.
obviously, if it goes the opposite way, it could be just some lockdown defense. But
If it's a
that's
back
definitely a
and
great
forth,
matchup to watch
yeah.
out.
If it's a back and forth, that's best case scenario, of course. But
I
a,
love it.
a come from behind, that's not always bad either. You can get some garbage time points, and that's good. That's fun to watch too.
It would be a big game. I think it'll be a good game.
So who's your first hot matchup this week?
Man, people are gonna really like stop. They're gonna be like, man, this guy's just an Eagles fan, man. But the Eagles versus Rams is gonna be a big game, man. Like,
Oh yeah.
seriously, bro. Every team is giving the Eagles their best game. Like you guys saw at the Washington Commanders last week. Like it was 34-31. Like, and they were like unanswered. Like they had to score 2 or 3 touchdowns in the second quarter. Second half, and they did it, man. Like
Yeah.
the Redskins. Forgive me for calling them the Redskins. That's what they are. The Commanders came back and they scored a touchdown and tie it up. And they're like, why didn't they go for 2? Is like, how do you ask a team how they went for 2 after they tied it up? If they went for 2 and they missed it, they would ask them why didn't they kick the damn field goal? Like people always want to question a coach for what they do. Like, man, get off the man's back. Like
Oh yeah. You see that all
they
day.
gave one of the best teams in the league a run for their money. We literally won it on a 54-yard field goal,
It is a
tough
fun
ass
game to
field
watch.
goal. Like, and then like they give the team shit, and everybody makes it about the brotherly shove. And people forget Tom Brady used to run that back in freaking 2006, and it was unstoppable then. With Tom Brady did it, and no, you know what I mean? Like we just resurrected it. Like it was Tom Brady's play. Like get off our back, bro. Everybody, you saw Daniel Jones try it. Was it unstoppable? No. We got
That's
a
right.
freaking ridiculous O line. Get your game up, bro.
Yeah.
Draft the first round O lineman every single year, like we do.
I know
Get
you
off,
guys built that line.
bro. We draft O lineman in the first round on offense and defense. That's what you get when you get 2 or 3 first round picks every other year. Like people act like it doesn't happen by luck. No, we're freaking doing it on purpose. We're signing free agents and we're drafting a lineman.
And that's why you can have a small
Value
back
those.
be so successful. That's why you can have a running back that's, not your traditional running back just tearing things up because he's protected.
But yeah, I didn't even get into the actual details of the game. But long story
I
short, it's
get
gonna
it,
be
man.
high octane.
Yeah.
Bro, but but the Rams have been playing great football, man. They're all like the offense looks sharp. I mean, like Matt Stafford hurt his hip, but he's gonna be playing. I mean, you might have Cooper Kupp back. Like, regardless, Kyron Williams has been solid. I mean,
he's a little banged up right
young
now
kid
too, but
Rivers,
he'll be fine.
that young kid Rivers, I'm probably gonna play him as my flex. Like I'm gonna take a big balls move. I'm gonna probably play him as my flex this week. Watch against the Eagles. If Cooper Kupp doesn't play, I'm gonna play that kid Rivers against the Eagles beat up secondary. I'm gonna play him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's probably gonna get me 30 points.
Yeah.
That's how sorry that secondary is right now. It's gonna be high scoring. Trust me.
And I'm one of those people that was talking a lot of shit on the Rams offense, but man, they surprised everybody, and I'm so happy to see it. I'm not a Rams fan or anything. It's just fun to watch. So I'm all about
it is. And of course, Puka, man, Puka, Tutu, Atwell.
Oh, yeah.
They're making some plays, man. Puka's the real deal, bro. He's not like that rookie's built like he's a Hawaiian brother, man. They're already built mature beyond their years,
Hell
so he's already like a veteran
awesome out there. He looks awesome.
Bro, he looks like a vet. So he's gonna test that Eagles secondary. So we gotta be ready. And what about you, man? What's your second hot matchup, brother?
My second fire matchup of the week is probably pretty obvious. The Chiefs versus the Vikings. Same story here as kind of the first one. You got 2 high-powered offenses. The Vikings defense is very suspect. Chiefs defense is pretty good, but Same thing with these two teams as the Jags and the Bills. You're going to see a lot more throwing than running. So I expect the Vikings, Kirk Cousins to be chucking the ball all day. I expect Patrick Mahomes to be chucking the ball all day and just sprinkling in some runs here and there, but mostly throwing the ball all day. If it's back and forth, awesome. If Kirk Cousins has to play from behind, that's great too. I guarantee you it's going to be a really high scoring game, really fun to watch. And the Chiefs may go up a little early, but I don't know. The Vikings, with that high-powered offense, I wouldn't be surprised if they went up early either. And it's just a strong offensive back and forth for the entire game.
Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you what. I feel bad for anybody that has to go up against Justin Jefferson this week because they're just gonna feed him like this week. Because you're right, the Chiefs Vikings is gonna be high scoring. I mean, Chiefs are gonna do whatever they want against that secondary. Like Brian Flores, he's gonna be playing deep the whole game. That's how you play the Eagles, right? Keep everything behind them, give everything underneath, and then Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes will play what the defense gives you. And guess what? And then Justin Jefferson's just going to chip away, and then bust them deep. Chip away, bust them deep. You know what? And that could actually be really good for the rookie as well, Jordan Addison.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the Chiefs have a good, solid secondary. Because Trent McDuffie last year and Jalen Watson, was a rookie last year, and Trent McDuffie, 2 rookies last year, so the second-year guys. They were actually ranked like 6, so I was actually debating on whether I should start Jordan Addison as my flex, because obviously I'm thin at options there. But I'm definitely contemplating it. But I could see how that could be a back and forth affair.
Yeah.
And how, but it's like, is it going to be Hawkinson and him, or is it just going to be Jefferson and Hawkinson? And Kirk Cousins' eyes, right? Because he gets pretty hyper focused, in my opinion.
I think what happened with Jordan Addison last week is kind of an anomaly based on everything we saw before that. I think he's going to have a good week this week, and with the amount of scoring involved, I feel like he's going to get 6 or 8 targets and have a solid day.
Yeah, I would
maybe
have to
not
watch
6 or 8
tape,
targets, but he's going to get a handful of targets.
I hope so. Hopefully the Chiefs score a lot quick. Maybe Taylor Swift's there, and then Travis Kelce wants to show off.
Yeah.
And get a 3-touchdown game.
That would be fun.
Because I know Travis Kelce is going to try to go off. So we're going to see what happens there. And then his girlfriend's going to be like, don't embarrass me again. Or Patrick Mahomes' wife's going to be like, don't embarrass me again like that. So he's going to throw 3 to Kelce just to make him look cool in front of Taylor Swift's friends.
Yeah.
Because that's looking like the freaking what is the professional games or the sports games where they have all the Messi games where they have all the celebrities up there like LeBron and everybody.
Yeah.
They're hanging out. That's what it's looking like now. Chiefs games.
I know. I think the Chiefs fans are a little annoyed by it, but from an outside perspective, it's kind of silly and fun. Yeah, Kelce, he's probably going to be showing off a little bit, throwing up 2 touchdowns. Who knows? I expect a high scoring game.
Make money off of it.
Yeah, I expect a high scoring game, and I bet you Kelsey's very involved.
Oh yeah,
so,
for sure.
Who'd you got for your second hot matchup of the week, Manny?
So this is gonna be a surprising one because these are 2 teams known for having some of the best defense in the league. But I think it's because they also have really efficient offenses that they're gonna have to go back and forth, especially considering their bitter rivalry. But it's going to be the Cowboys and the Niners. This one's going to be a good one. So they don't even have the highest point projected total either. I think Vegas only has them at 45 for the spread. But I could see them going back and forth, man, trading shots. Because I think last time they met was the NFC Championship or something like that, a few years ago. And the Niners knocked them out. No, not the NFC Championship. They never went. It was the divisional round. 4 years ago, something like that. So,
okay.
So they still have bitter blood from that. And then the Cowboys are saying how they, they're the better ones of the rivalry. So, it'd be nice to see them play each other because the NFC West plays the NFC East this year. So it's going to be the matchup to see there.
Yeah, that's cool.
Plus, I have McCaffrey, so I love to see them against that run defense. Cowboys, they have a great rush defense, but I think they get gouged on the run, especially if they're gonna try to target McCaffrey and maybe try to take away Debo, but I think they can't stop McCaffrey, especially after that performance last week.
I don't think so either. They're great. They're a very, very good defense, but they haven't faced someone like McCaffrey, and their defense has been pretty much the reason the Cowboys have looked so good. But McCaffrey's McCaffrey, and he's a total freak. I actually made a trade today. It was rejected, and it was a bold move. You might not agree with it, but I do need a running back too, so keep that in mind. I offered Justin Jefferson straight up for McCaffrey, and the McCaffrey owner said no.
So, I don't blame him. I would have said no too. I want McCaffrey.
I was going to offer you that trade before the season started. That's how high on McCaffrey I was.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you, this guy is in my league. He had number 1 overall draft pick, and he took Justin Jefferson, and guess who got McCaffrey?
5th. You got him 5th. Stupid.
5th. And I am very happy with that decision.
I know. Dude, of course. Didn't make sense that he went 5th.
And I wouldn't have made that trade back then either. Trust me. I was not.
I was real close to picking
CMC since day one.
I was really
the
close.
only
to
person that made me question that decision, like very slightly, was Tyreek Hill, and then I said, "Nope, I'm going CMC," and that's what I did, and that was it. That's as close as it got, and you know what? And I don't regret it because 25, 25, 25, 50, boom, 50 burger, man. That was that's like increased scoring, so it's probably like 45.
Yeah.
But
he was a monster. 40 something. That it was in the 40s. I know that much.
It's time for the cold call of the week.
My cold call of the week is the Saints versus the Patriots. Offenses from both teams have looked pretty bad, and the defense has looked pretty good. So, I mean, that's a harsh thing to mix, is a bad offense and a good defense. And that's what we're going to see on both sides of the ball. And I imagine that, Ramondre's probably going to play, but not be 100%. Kamara's still getting warmed up. Carr might still be a little banged up. And, what we saw from Mac Jones last week was pretty bad. There's just not a lot of good-looking offense on either side of the ball. Olave will probably have a good game, but overall, it's probably going to be a low-scoring affair.
All right, yeah, definitely. Patriots versus Saints. That's it's a matchup that I would want to avoid as well. Both teams look sloppy. I mean, Kamara actually had 14 receptions last week, so I mean that's someone that I would definitely play. But I told you last week I wouldn't touch any of those Saints receivers. I mean, I told you like Olave, I was like sell high on that man now, get rid of him now. But by then it was already, if you didn't sell on him already, it was already too late for him and Michael Thomas, because the Saints are going to be up and down all season long, along with Carr's health. The moment he's out, that team is shot. That team's value for everybody except for Kamara, and that's the only player I would even take on that team. But Patriots, there's nobody, like the only one player, and he's like not really even that. He's not even consistent because that position typically is Hunter Henry, you know, for the tight end. So, I mean, that's just how that team is. So it's definitely a cold call for sure. And my cold call for the week, I do have the Jets versus the Broncos. So I know Zach, Wilson played his heart out, against the Chiefs, but I don't think he's going to be consistently play that good. I just don't think that team's cut out for it. Maybe Breece Hall has a big game, for the Jets. The defense will shut him out, right? The Broncos just beat him up because they did have a good defense. They've just been playing a lot of good offenses lately. And then for the Broncos, offensively they might score a little bit, but they could get knocked off rhythm by good defenses. So they could get beat up a lot. They don't have Javonte Williams. They have Jaleel McLaughlin, that young guy back there. He's a little bit undersized. I think the Jets defense is pretty beastly, so they might beat up on him a little bit. And on Russell Wilson a little bit, and we'll see how that goes. But that's just not a matchup. I want to have players on either side. So if I have players from these teams, I'm definitely not happy to be starting them. Like the only one I told you that I would be like remotely okay with would be Brees Hall. Outside of that, everybody else I'm just very shaky on. Like just find
Yeah,
other options.
yeah, and I totally agree with that. And you know, one other thing I'd like to mention, an honorable mention, is the Steelers versus the Ravens, because that's going to be another low scoring affair. It is every single time they match up. It's a defensive battle every single year. It's always brutal. And you got Mitch Trubisky starting at quarterback. The Steelers offense has looked horrible. God damn. And you're probably going to see a lot of Lamar. And there's a good chance the Ravens will just stomp the Steelers. But usually it's a defensive battle, so I would stay away from that game as well.
Yeah, my take on that is Ravens have looked a little bit injured on defense, like secondary. And Travinsky, I think, is a little bit of has a better arm than Pickett did. Pickett didn't look like he could throw those corner routes very well. So maybe it's an improvement for that Matt Canada offense, like being able to throw those out routes. I don't know, like
Yeah,
I don't think I would start any of those guys, but maybe that's a good recipe for George Pickens sneak play if you're like
maybe.
an emergency
There
flex start,
and
but like
Fryermuth is
not
banged
necessarily
up
like a
too.
first option, huh?
Fryermuth is banged up too, which could help
Oh
Pickens.
no, I'm not playing. No, you're playing like you're looking at like an emergency flex George Pickens like
Right.
that. I think that could be something that could because I think he could have that chemistry with Trubinsky. Like
Maybe.
Trubinsky is going to look for the number one guy. Who do you feed? The guy that could win you the team, and who's that
Mm.
guy? That emotional guy, that emotional connection. That receiver is George Pickens. That's your number one,
And,
right?
yeah, and
So that's who you have to win.
and the Steelers off our defense is obviously their saving grace, which they might have a good game because the Ravens backfield is beat up and their receiving core is very limited outside of Mark Andrews. So we'll see
You just
what
got to
happens.
stop Lamar and Mark.
And Zay Flowers maybe, but we'll see. So
Oh yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the shit call of the week. But you know what? It wasn't all bad. It's like one of those ghost shits where there's nothing on the paper. Manny, who is your shit call of the week?
Well, that's real easy, Joe. I have to look back at the week for the past week, and I thought about my shit call, and it's real easy. My shit call last week was I didn't have any shit calls last week. They were all highlights, Joe. I didn't call one shit call, and if you don't believe me, check out all the videos from last week. They're all
I
time
did.
stamped.
I did check out the videos, and you're correct. Your calls were all on point, and that's why everyone should be listening to this channel. I didn't really have much to talk about either, but if I had to choose anything, it would be I said the Bears were going to run a train on the Broncos, and that was maybe a little bit of an emotional statement because the Broncos looked so bad against Miami that I just
Sounds more sexual than emotional.
can be both. So it was a lot of back and forth, actually, and the first score was Denver, actually, but then right in the second quarter, Chicago scored 3 touchdowns. I knew it was going to be a good game for Justin Fields and the Denver offense. You called Herbert having a big game, and I thought it was, and you called DJ Moore having a big game. I thought Rashawn Johnson was going to get a little more involved. But long story short, I thought they were just going to destroy the Denver Broncos, and it was a very high-scoring game like I expected, but it was only a 3-point difference. That's about all I could say. Most of our calls were pretty good. Pretty good last week.
All mine. But yeah, for sure. That was I mean, that was a good. I mean, let's talk about that game for example. So that was just people talk about. We were talking about the Eagles Redskins game last week. How they kicked the field goal and people were like, why didn't they go for two? So that game is a prime example of when you go for two and you miss it, and then people ask, why didn't you kick the extra point? Or sorry, they went for the on fourth down with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and they could have been up by 3 points. And what ended up happening, they punted the ball with 2 minutes left. The other team marched it down, kicked the field goal, and they won by 3 points because they couldn't get another possession in 2 minutes. When they got the ball back.
You
So
see it all the
that's
time.
a prime example. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the big balls call of the week. All right, Joe, who has your big cojones of the week this time?
Well, I'm actually talking about a game rather than individual. And I think the 49ers are going to beat the Cowboys by 2 touchdowns. I think they're both really good teams, but I think the 49ers offense is visibly better and just statistically overall better than the Cowboys, a lot better. So even though they both have great teams, I think that the Cowboys have a really rock solid defense that has been kind of carrying them, getting a lot of these W's for them. And the 49ers look great on offense and on defense. They look awesome on offense. And I think it's going to be a more one-sided game than everybody else does. And I think the Niners are going to beat the Cowboys by 2 touchdowns.
I definitely can't disagree. Cowboys are one-dimensional. They defense does carry them. You're going to see that against a superior team like the Niners. So, yeah, I could definitely see that happening. Now,
What
for
about
my
you?
big balls call.
Who's your big balls call of the week?
All right, for my big balls call. All right, I'm calling a Aaron Jones comeback game right now. For
Love that call.
those of you that have them or don't have them, buy low right now. I told you about buy low on Josh Jacobs last week. If you bought low on him, there's some of you that did. Gendry, congratulations. You bought low, and guess what? You emerged a winner. He had a 30-point game last week, and that's just a start. Like I said, no training camp, no practice.
You were right about that too. You said that last week. I wasn't as high on him, but you were.
Yeah, and it's a long season, but he's a workhorse, guys. They're gonna run that guy to the ground, and he could take it. He's a good back. But Aaron Jones, another one of those workhorses, they're gonna lean on him. It's gonna be a back and forth. I mean, Green Bay versus Las Vegas on Monday. I mean, he's coming back from injury. He had like a very limited workload coming back from that hamstring, and he's at 100%. They actually had a quote from Aaron Jones that says, "I feel like I'll be able to go out there against Vegas Monday night and be 100%." So Aaron Jones just quoted that here today. So I feel very confident about him being healthy. And I think Green Bay wants to make a statement because they were able to throw on the pass, but they've been playing some catch-up games and a lot of games from behind. And I don't think they want to play that kind of game. They want to lead, and they know that the only way they can lead is by running the ball efficiently. And they can't run the ball unless Aaron Jones is healthy, because we saw what A.J. Dillon did, which was absolutely nothing. Even their backup running back, nothing. Like,
I know,
if you don't have Aaron Jones in there, like he is one of the most efficient backs you ever see in fantasy football. That man will get 15 touches for like 120 yards and like 2 touchdowns. He's one of the most efficient guys you ever see in a fantasy season.
Very involved in the run and pass game. And like you just said, we don't see A.J. Dillon doing anything. So they've got, one workhorse back that they can count on, and that's it. And we all knew he wasn't healthy last week, and he's saying he's 100%, and I feel like he's coming back very strong too. I love that call.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us here again. Another episode of Fantasy Football Fumble. It's your boy, Manny James Games, over here with Joe the Birdman. Joe, You got any closing out statements for our people over here?
No, just thank you everybody for tuning in. We got the starts and sits on Sunday. Player profiles throughout the week. Like I said, tune in. Let us know if there's something else you want to see. If there's a specific player that you want us to cover for a profile.
All right, guys, take it easy. Thank you for the follow, and we'll see you guys same time, same place next week. All right, guys.